cheap. Anybody want to try some sheep milk?
Would love to.
All right.
Here, can I give you this? Look at this.
This is the cleanest container, my regular
nice
containers.
Felt
Yeah,
there.
you can sit in there if you want to
Nice.
check it out. It's yeah, the brakes on. I haven't tried it this morning, but I'm sure.
Sip it right off.
Yeah, sure. It's raw, so it's got the good microbes that it's not gonna, like, even if you have salmonella, you spit back in it, it's not gonna do anything. They've actually done tests with kefir. I don't know about raw milk, but with kefir they've done tests where they drop pure salmonella and pure, like, the things that normally make us puke, and they like went back to it like an hour later or whatever the time duration was, and found that it was completely had been crowded out for resources. In other words, like just battled out. Like there's so many microbes in there that are like stock, like they're in harmony with each other, that when you put in something that's not harmonious, it doesn't have a chance to gain a foothold in that environment, that medium. So it's like raw milk is one of the safest things that you can consume. That's why that's one of the most battled food sources, substances.
Yeah. And especially the sheep, right? The sheep milk, is it like better, even better?
It's the most bioavailable. It's like when if you looked at it underneath the microscope, all of its constituents would be much smaller than even goat milk. Like in the culinary, like because it has higher butter fat than get out of the sun, so this is the microbes.
I was just going to ask you, where do you keep it cool like this?
Well, I have a evaporator cooler under there, and I'm about to put together my scraps to at least for the milk, and then I was asking you when you're on the way down, I was like, hey, if you bring some scraps, I'll be able to, like, I have 4 waters back there, I have 10 gallons, so theoretically, I'm thinking I can encase all of these. I can basically like take off this chloroplast wall, like how on this side I don't have a chloroplast wall. Yeah. And just line it with felt, and then a top, and then be able to spray under there every day, and then the heat will pull the moisture through the wool at a very metered rate that keeps everything inside of it down to 60 degrees. That's super cool.
That is awesome. So yeah, you want to see the felt out
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
But it didn't really click with me until a friend of mine, when we moved up to Montague from Sonoma County in 2020 years ago, he showed me how to do it, and I was like, wow.
Oh, you never lived in Ashland? You were never where the dream, what is it, Shepherd's Dream was?
That's the old business that I had a long time ago.
You guys weren't living there?
No.
It looked like people were living there and had a Shepherd's Dream business.
Oh, the one on A Street?
Yeah.
Or wait, was it A Street?
Yeah.
Off of
A Street.
A Street.
Yeah.
A Street. Yes, they did have a little apartment, but I started it in 97.
And then sold it to them? Oh wow, interesting. I thought they were the originators of it, and that you were part of that, and then you sold it, and then they moved downtown or something.
So
You're working for
we'd love
yourself
to have
more
Aaron
likely.
come and visit us in Montague.
Yeah.
I have 3 historic buildings out there.
I cannot deal with the fear of, it's like you asking me to like go up to some height when I say I'm claustrophobic. I am, what's the opposite of hydrophobic? I'm not. That's too deserty.
You're hydrophilic, you need water.
My animals need water. We can't, it's too, as soon as you start going over this pass, it's off limits for dairy sheep.
Yeah. For dairy sheep?
For dairy sheep.
Okay, what about wool sheep?
For regular meat sheep and wool sheep, it's a totally different story. If you want the finest wool, you're gonna need, the finest wool is always like on green. It's never on like, it's never on even partial dry lot. Like,
oh, so dry makes rougher wool? Or
dry feed is the older the dry feed and the more subjected to heat and the sun, the more the chlorophyll burns out of it, and the chlorophyll is the part that is what's gold to them.
Oh, it's so, I've got grass this high right
chlorophyll.
now, and I'm like, oh, I need somebody to come eat my grasses.
A lot of them will admit point blank they don't even drink their own goat milk.
Wow.
That's why they're all selling it, and you can't find sheep milk for sale.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why I'm saying, like, like you cannot live off goat milk. You can't live off eggs. You can't live off eggs. You can't live off vegetables. So why are people even spending time with those things before spending their time with something that someone is living off of every day? And who says, try this? And is that got a species flavor? It doesn't have a species flavor, and it's just like sweet cow milk, isn't it?
It's delicious.
Yes.
Absolutely delicious.
And you only have to drink a half gallon of that a day to live off of, as opposed to a gallon and a half of cow milk or a gallon of goat milk. A half gallon of sheep milk is actually asking a lot, and a gallon of goat milk, I've tried it is not even possible. I haven't tried it with cow milk, but I can't imagine it being any more possible. I think that the taste would be more tolerable with cow milk, but the quantity would be less tolerable. So it would be like, I figure that goat milk and cow milk are probably pretty even in ability to survive off of.
Also, I think
But
goats
sheep
are
is another whole thing.
goats
It's a
are
totally
lot more
different thing.
fragile. Like I think goats, what I'm understanding, and I'm just learning about this, is that goats are a lot more fragile. They have a lot more requirements.
They are. The sheep are more hardy. You know what? The golden thing that the golden area that I think is perfect for you guys though, for your area, is donkeys and dairy donkeys.
What? Really? Dairy donkeys?
Dude, dairy donkeys are the thing.
I've never heard of such a thing.
No one's even heard of dairy sheep. You could have the fiber sheep, dairy donkeys, and fiber sheep, but like these animals are so like we're asking so much from their systems already that to expect fine fiber and adequate quantity of milk in order to make it worth our time and endeavor squeezing that little teat is not reasonable. And so yeah, I could see fiber sheep being guarded by dairy donkeys. That's perfect.
Okay.
That is perfect. Yeah. There's more like barring of transportation of dairy sheep between national borders than any other livestock.
Why do you suppose that is?
Because of their I think that this is the most efficient way to feed an army. One person can have a love-based leading relationship, not a fear-based driving, but a love-based leading relationship with like you could have 5,000 sheep following one shepherd. And there's something called the sheepfold. Have you heard of sheepfold? It's the simplest way of milking as many animals with as few workers as possible, but it's not like in a sanitary, certifiable indoor environment. It's an outdoor environment. It's
A natural, healthy environment.
Yeah, it's simply taking a slat out of a wooden fence and letting one sheep out at a time and sitting next to that slat with your like they sit on stools and they let one sheep through at a time, and then they have when they see an udder, then they grab the leg and then they put their leg in front of the door to close it off, and then they milk, and then they move the milk out of the way, let them go, and continue letting them through until they grab another one in the milk. And it's like the stupidest simple way to obtain calories for civilization.
Very cool.
On a consistent basis, and it's higher quality food than anything that you can grow, and anything that you grow has anti-nutrients and phytic acid and all these other things that are toxins. That milk is literally the only thing that's made to be food. It's like milk and fruit, but fruit is just going to feed parasites loads and habituate like a tighter train of thought.
Although I eat dairy, so I'm not. It's just that where are we going? Where are we evolving to? Do we continue to use the milk of the animals for now? Yes. And is that the ideal, or is maybe that is, because we're merging with the various species and feeling.
Well, what's the goal? Is the goal to do no harm, or to do less harm on the earth, or to be more harmonious on the earth?
Yeah.
This is the most harmonious diet that anyone has ever presented, because plants are conscious. They are just as conscious. They are just as alive and aware as everything else. It's just in a different way that we can't supremacize ourselves over. Yet, whatever. The same vegans that are talking about white supremacy are talking about how the plants don't have sentience and rip them, butcher them, pull them up. No. I think that we actually all life forms need a certain level of stress in our lives in order to prod us along in our progress. Without a certain amount of stress, we stagnate. If you do it how I'm doing it, you are stimulating their life. You are enriching their life. And if you forage like me and not like a vegan who rips up the entire plant, I don't agree with ripping up the plant. Like actual tap roots, there's no way I have experimented, and you can rip off a portion of the bottom of the root and plug it back in, and it'll surprisingly continue on. But that's not nearly as rationalizable as, in my experience, as taking a single potato from, like, rootlets. Plants that have rootlets, you can take an individual one, and that stimulates the whole plant in the same way that you can take a leaf or two, or whatever the pain threshold of the individual plant is, you can take from in order to stimulate, as long as it's not too much and it stifles.
Stress.
And the same goes for animals. We do not need to butcher them. In fact, old meat is better and more bioavailable for us than the younger meat. And it's more, the roadkill, the old animals, we don't even need meat that much. Like, we don't need it that much. And so the byproduct of the raising dairy automatically creates meat in the ratio that is more reasonable, more sustainable.
Cool.
And so then the only question on the board is, well, where do microbes fit into the humanity of all of this? You know, microbes are alive, and they're actually more alive than we're giving them, than we're giving plants the credit of being alive. Like, they're equal to all of us, because we are, you know, the studies that they've found that we're more foreign microbes than we are human cells.
Yep.
And they found that out like 12 years ago, and every single year they've been able to look further and further and deeper into the subatomic realm and find that, like, we're higher and higher ratio of foreign microbes. And last I heard a couple years ago, it's like we're 90% not even human cells, we're foreign microbes. 90% foreign microbes. We're only 10% us. So we literally are in like a soup. So when you eat microbes, you're not killing them. You're literally like
Rehoming them.
You're bathing in the everything. It's like eating microbes is the furthest things from atrocity. It's the most beautiful thing. We have the opportunity here to have a truly harmless diet, more so than the vegan diet. Because it's entirely meant to enrich everything's life that it eats.
As long as the relationship is loving, right,
Yeah.
between the animal and the shepherd and the human.
Well, yeah, that's the
Otherwise
whole
it's
thing is
exploitation.
that's the whole thing is that, like, it's not worth it to milk an animal, a sheep, that doesn't want to give it to you, because you're not going to get even a fraction of the milk, because they can hold on to their milk.
Wow.
They can, sheep can hold on to their milk better than any other animal. So they have to want to give it to you more than the other animals. So what we need is, we need a way to, we need a tight package, a tight program, a tight way for people exiting Babylon to communicate with farms in a way that farms can communicate that they are those farms. The home-free farms is what I've been calling them. Some kind of a symbol, which the symbol that I used for a community work trade house of the same sort that has evolved into this since they kicked us out of town, and I had to try to bring this idea out into the more rural area. A house symbol, a basic house symbol, you know, like a logo, like the roof box with a heart in it, basically. So that's just an example of something that encapsulates the idea. This is one of those houses, or this is one of those properties that you can come to, and then we got to figure out a way that I'm thinking that, like, maybe stickers that have we would have to terse it out into, like, the directions, just like one line directions, like underneath the symbol, like farm hands apply here, or something like that. And then in the mailbox, the person would always keep these applications that would have these questions that we've all developed, that really, these like set of questions that really help to quickly determine whether they would be a good fit for that property or not. And then the application would say, all right, we'll put your application back in the mailbox, and come by tomorrow and check the mailbox. But if there's not, if we say, you know, no, there's, like, the basis of this program is no means no. That has to be upfront. No means no. Like boundaries are boundaries. You know, like rules are rules. Type thing. It's got to be cut, because if it doesn't, it's got to hinge on that, because the number one complaint, I've been trying to do this for years. Like I totally took Wolfing's website, paid their membership fee, went on there and cut and pasted every single one of their, starting in my area, and started building those contacts and those locations on my website for free for people, and the biggest, and then inviting other people to put their ad up for free. And the biggest thing that people said is the trust. Well, how do I trust those people? And obviously the Wolfing websites have their way around it, is by having the profiles. Every property, if they want to be one of these home free properties, if they're not of the managerial mind, like that's going to put their foot in the ground and like hold these people to, you have to have experience with people pushing fences. Yeah, and everyone knows who I'm talking about. Those people, they know, they have a friend who would like be able to fucking manage that shit. And every property is going to need that with this, because no matter how we craft the words, I don't want nice people wanting to help and thinking they got all their bases covered by the way that they're questioning and the information they're getting back. There's still going to be an element of unpredictability, in which case it's going to benefit property owners to have. So that's where a website can come in beforehand to establish actual home free people, and then everyone who's exiting Babylon is just going to be like a wannabe home free person. So it's like the home free people will be before shit hits the fan. I don't know if I don't want to push the idea that shit is going to hit the fan on people.
We're all there.
Okay, good. So I don't feel bad about pushing that. And I don't think that shit has to hit the fan. If everyone had local food security and the economy collapsed, it literally would be the opposite of shit hitting the fan, because the only way that I see shit hitting the fan, the only way that it's actually going to be defined as a negative thing is if there isn't local food security for people to not want to have their main purpose of robbing each other. Like everything that people want to steal from each other now is based on the consumption of electricity and gasoline, and when those two things aren't fucking available, everyone's going to be looking at those objects of value as not very fucking valuable, and the only thing they're going to be thinking is valuable is food. Clothing is not even going to fucking be up there, because there's already so many damn clothes fucking manufactured that everyone can live off of it in a utilitarian way, not a fashionable changing every goddamn day way, forever. We don't need to worry about it. So that's why I started stepping away from the wool clothing. It's awesome. It's comfortable. I still can't find base layers that are warmer than it, but so I make those. But the food is where we need to concentrate. And shit does not have to hit the fan if a community has local food security.
I want to show you this. This is one of the walls felt that I...
So what do you guys, how are you making this? Is it a vibrating table or a pin?
No, I just
need a felt. Or is it rolled?
Wet it down and roll it up.
Okay, it's the rolled method. Cool.
Yeah, the roll method.
So what are you guys rolling them up in, a tarp?
He's been making them, he's just learning how to felt, and he's doing...
What are you guys rolling them up in, tarp or what?
It's a screen, super screen. We got it online. It's much stronger than window screen.
Okay.
I used to use window.
Is it made out of metal?
No, it's some kind of extra. It's lasted me 10 years without a hole in it. So it's been amazing.
It's some kind of plastic?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a trampoline material, but it's got a little bit bigger holes in it, like screen.
Okay. Oh, so it's kind of like the shades that they
Yeah.
Okay.
They call it sunscreen.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Interesting. You're using that?
Yeah.
Interesting. And
yeah.
I could see it not sticking through or like binding to each other through it, or going through it at all. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Then after we roll it up, we stomp on it for 6 miles. 6 miles of stomping per queen felt.
What do you mean? How do you calculate it's 6 miles?
Well, I'm not sure. Like so tiny steps. I did it on my iPhone, and it showed like 6 miles.
Stand there, you go stamp something
for 1 hour.
Why aren't you just rolling it back and forth? Why are you rolling it like?
Stepping on it.
Okay, so you're not rolling it. You're just stepping on it and then turning it and then stepping on it.
Yes, exactly.
Well, why aren't you stepping on it and rolling it at the same time?
Well, yeah, we could.
That's what they do in other countries.
Yeah, I've seen.
They stand on it and roll it back and forth. But
Like
you
stand on it and go like this.
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then you
hitting
don't
all
even
of
have
it.
to step on it. You don't even have to step
Right.
on it. You just stand on it and rock it.
It's
Oh, I like
really,
that a
it
lot.
takes
Yeah.
a lot of arm strength, I guess, you know, is kind of why I stuck with the feet. But so you just do it long enough to get the batting.
What do you mean arm strength?
To do this?
No, you stand on it. And
No, you
do that with
stand on it.
Oh, right,
You rock
right.
it.
You
right.
stand on it next to something like you get two
Yeah,
chairs.
yeah, either way.
Or something
Yeah,
like that.
you
Something
can
that
do
for a little support, and you just stand on it and you rock your whole body, and your
I like
feet
that.
just do that.
Yeah, I know.
And then
I've
you
seen it.
move over and then you do that.
Right.
that.
Anyway, after
Yeah.
stabilizing the wool, then we use a washing machine.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and that I think
Like
is
after you
what's
get
doing-
it to where it's like it's matted enough to where it's not going to fall apart.
Right.
And for float apart,
Right.
it'll
Exactly.
it'll full.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's called fulling, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he
Fulling
knows
is
when-
exactly what the word is. You full it in. You fill it in.
Okay.
Like it took me so long to realize that because nothing says that point blank.
Right.
Like you can read 3 different definitions of what the fuck fulling is, and none of them make any sense, let alone all together. They all contradict each other. And it's like fulling is nothing more
filling in this-
than not doing this,
Right.
but doing this.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's filling it in.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right. So but I just ordered a felting machine
Uh-huh.
so that we can,
Like a felting
meet
table?
the demand. No, it's also a rolling machine. Then after it comes off of that,
Uh-huh.
then I want to do the fulling, and I won't need to use a washing machine anymore.
Okay.
But I haven't figured out how I.
How are you going to full
do that
without the
yet.
washing machine?
Well, I don't know yet. but
That's
I
a
was
lot of work. The
thinking-
fulling is way more
Is
work
it?
than the felting itself because it's.
Well, then maybe the washing machine is worth it.
Yeah, I would say that might be. Yeah, please chew and pray on that, and let me know if you have any other ideas on how we can connect farmers and farm hands in a way that would be most efficient and safest, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I get the phone number?
Yeah, sure. It's 541. Good morning. Yes. I slept much warmer last night than I would have. It was really rainy and cold and windy. Eliana gave me a bunch of scraps from their mill. So freaking cool. Some carded wool. I got it fully felt up. It's pretty loose right now, but definitely a lot warmer than this wool sleeping bag, this wool filled sleeping bag. This thing used to, just 2 months ago, have twice as much loft, and it's compacted down. It's not anywhere near felting yet. A little bit finer wool actually than her wool. A little bit softer. A little bit softer. Yeah, definitely one stage softer, and yeah, you can see that this has just started to felt down, and it's not insulating as well because it doesn't have the loft, but yet it's not as insulative as this stuff because it's not as compacted together. So I'm gonna finish felting it along with these scraps, and I'm going to put together a fully wool felted sleeping bag for next winter, because this sleeping bag, it was really nice, but the liner on it, the liner is completely detached from the outside layer. Like normally sleeping bags will baffle, just like how the edge is here. It's baffled to keep
the liner from sagging down and making it difficult for you to slide your feet into the sleeping bag, because it just gets caught on this flexible merino wool fabric. And then also, when you pull it over your head to breathe into the sleeping bag and warm yourself up more efficiently, which is the most valuable characteristic of the sleeping bag, is being able to cover up and breathe in it and recycle your breath heat and stay warmer than you would if you had to breathe outside of the sleeping bag, because it was a unbreathable sleeping bag. The condensation would just accumulate on the inside of. So that's one of the main attributes of this, is being able to just pull it over your head and breathe into it. But the drapiness of this inside layer makes it to where when you pull it over your head and start trying to breathe in it, it just keeps your heat around this area around your face. The heat isn't able to go down into the lower levels of your sleeping bag around your feet, your lower body. So your lower body stays cold. But with a felted wool sleeping bag, where these have been densified more so like my felt is rigid. It's not as drapey as this. This is like a wool blanket almost. So I'm gonna densify it and get it to be as dense as like this thin piece right here. This piece right here is thin like this, but it's dense. That's what I'm gonna try to get in my sleeping bag. And then when I pull the wool sleeping bag over my head, the felted wool sleeping bag will have more of open, hollow, dead air space in between itself and my body that I can breathe into, and my warm breath will travel further down into my sleeping bag. Oh, I think it'll be a lot warmer. Oh. Eliana is we are right here, and Eliana lives right over this mountain pass in Montague, just south of Ashland. So we're talking about figuring out a way to graze her sheep for her mill, get some sheep for the mill so that she's getting it all local instead of ordering this wool from New Zealand, and basically herding her sheep back and forth, and actually nomadically shepherding sheep. But I don't know if it's gonna be possible. I'm thinking about giving it a whirl for a season and see what happens. Let's see if we can figure it out, and then if I don't like it, I could train some other shepherd to take over. If it doesn't, the area doesn't provide enough forage for my spoiled dairy sheep. Good sheep! Good girl, happy girl. My friend cut half his lawn yesterday before the rain. So I was sleeping over here on the edge of where all of the stuff is that he didn't mow. So my sheep would be encouraged to come out in between times it was raining last night and graze as much as possible, so they'll produce as much milk as possible. If I'd parked back there under the overhang like I usually do, then I would have kept my ram over there, and they wouldn't have ever gone over here during the night and gotten a midnight munching. Good sheep, yes. Oh, I slept so much warmer last night. Oh, my GC mama bear, good morning. Oh, yes, good morning, GC. Yeah. We're also talking about using her scraps to make me a new roof, a new felted wool roof. Oh, that's an idea. That should be interesting. And I'm going to enclose all of our water this year within wool so that I can spray it down and keep all of our water cool in summer. This is gonna be cool. Summer's gonna be off the hook. We're carrying more water than we've ever carried before, like 4 times more water, and the water's gonna be cold. That's gonna be awesome. Stay tuned, this season's gonna be off the hook. I'm gonna start traveling here in the next week.